and say, okay, I've been through so many cycles of collective bargaining, and often things tend to get done at the 11th hour.
Listen, he messed this all the way up, and we are almost at the 11th hour, and I'm gonna set a drop dead date soon for y'all to either have this done or we move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the games are over. The petty Instagram posts, the subtle shots, the public back and forth. All of it is finished because Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA and the man whose league financially supports the WNBA, has finally stepped in. After months of players and owners arguing like children fighting over a toy, after the memes, the subtweets, and the growing tension, he broke his silence during All-Star Weekend and delivered what sounded less like an update and more like a warning. He made it clear that leadership, including Breanna Stewart and the Players Association, is dangerously close to fumbling the biggest financial opportunity in the history of women's sports, and he's not going to allow it. This wasn't just a commissioner speaking. It felt like a CEO stepping in to stop a subsidiary from self-sabotage. He sees the unprofessionalism, the internal chaos, the nervous rookies worried about the league's future, and he's had enough. According to this perspective, he's stepping in to protect the league's most valuable asset, Caitlin Clark. And if anyone thought the possibility of a lockout was just rumor, his message made one thing clear: the clock is ticking. The union has a deadline, and if progress isn't made, drastic action could follow. His intervention now stands as the defining moment that could determine whether the league stabilizes or spirals further. The adult in the room, as many are calling him, has officially arrived.
It was productive.
See, they asked him, Breanna Stewart, and said, we love to sit down with Adam. We love for him to be at the table. He said, man, I ain't sitting down at the table with y'all.
Let's break down the phrase drop dead date, because in the corporate world, that kind of language is chilling. When Adam Silver said he wasn't ready to set one and then immediately explained why time was running out, it didn't sound like flexibility. It sounded like a warning wrapped in diplomacy. What followed wasn't a suggestion, it was a roadmap to a potential shutdown. With training camps approaching fast, the league faces major logistical steps: the regular draft, an expansion draft for Golden State, and the opening of free agency. None of that can legally or practically move forward without a new collective bargaining agreement in place. You can't draft players into a league operating without a labor deal, and you can't negotiate contracts without a defined salary cap structure. By laying out those realities, Silver essentially challenged the strategy of the Women's National Basketball Players Association. If the union believes it can stretch negotiations indefinitely and force ownership to fold, the calendar itself becomes the counterargument. Deadlines in professional sports aren't abstract, they're operational. A delayed agreement means a delayed season. A delayed season frustrates broadcast partners. Frustrated partners threaten revenue streams. And revenue is the foundation holding everything together. Silver understands this dynamic deeply from navigating past labor disputes within the NBA, and his tone suggests he sees looming risk where others may see leverage. The underlying message is clear. The clock is not symbolic, it's structural, and ignoring it could have consequences far beyond the negotiation.
In terms of the amazing amount of progress we've seen in the women's basketball.
The amazing amount of progress that Caitlin Clark has brought to this league. That's what you're blowing. Adam Silver sees it, man. He see.
There's an interesting layer to this situation involving Breanna Stewart and the Women's National Basketball Players Association publicly calling for Adam Silver to join negotiations directly. Rather than working solely through Cathy Engelbert, some voices suggested bringing the NBA commissioner to the table, believing his presence could accelerate progress or reshape discussions around revenue sharing. Silver, however, made it clear that while he remains involved behind the scenes, he has not been sitting at the bargaining table. In executive terms, that signals confidence in the existing ownership structure and the league's appointed leadership to handle negotiations. It also
reinforces organizational hierarchy. The WNBA operates independently, even though it maintains financial and structural ties to the NBA. From a strategic standpoint, this distance can function as leverage. Public diplomacy paired with private alignment is a common negotiation dynamic, maintaining optimism outwardly while ensuring internal unity. By declining to personally enter talks, Silver avoids elevating the dispute to a higher corporate level and keeps the process contained within the WNBA's governance framework. The broader takeaway is about perception versus structure. Some may have assumed direct NBA intervention would shift bargaining power, but Silver's approach suggests he views this as a matter for WNBA leadership and ownership to resolve. In doing so, he reinforces institutional boundaries and signals that negotiations must follow established channels rather than bypass them.
I've been through so many cycles of collective bargaining, and often things tend to get done at the 11th hour. We're getting awfully close to the 11th hour now when it comes to bargaining. To set a drop-dead date, but I will say, calendar and the amount that we need to get done really over the next 2 months.
Quoted as saying, I'm not ready to set a drop-dead date. What I love to accomplish is putting pressure on everybody. That's NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on
The timing of Adam Silver speaking out during All-Star Weekend raises an obvious question. Why step in now instead of letting negotiations play out quietly? From a business perspective, the answer many analysts point to is momentum, specifically the surge of attention surrounding Caitlin Clark. Over the past year, the WNBA has experienced a dramatic rise in visibility, television ratings, attendance, and sponsorship energy. Much of that growth has coincided with Clark's arrival and the broader wave of interest she helped generate. For a league still building long-term financial stability, maintaining that momentum is critical. A prolonged labor dispute or delayed season wouldn't just pause games, it could interrupt fan engagement at a time when casual viewers are newly invested. From Silver's standpoint, protecting growth is about protecting opportunity. Broadcast windows, sponsorship negotiations, expansion plans, and long-term media deals depend on consistency and reliability. If a strike or lockout were to sideline the season, the risk wouldn't just be lost games, it could mean losing newer fans who might not wait for labor issues to resolve. In today's crowded sports marketplace, attention shifts quickly. So when Silver emphasizes deadlines and progress, it's less about personalities and more about trajectory. The league has measurable forward movement, and corporate leadership tends to act decisively when momentum is at stake. His comments can be interpreted as an effort to safeguard stability during a pivotal growth phase, ensuring that the spotlight currently on the WNBA translates into sustained long-term value rather than a short-lived surge.
To the WNBA about the latest CBA negotiations. This is a three-parter, folks. A three-parter. Roses are red, violets are blue. We love a proposal that values players too.
The discussion also highlights the growing tension around public messaging and perception. Reports of social media exchanges and highly public rhetoric have fueled debate about professionalism, and as commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver understands that instability within the WNBA can reflect on the broader basketball brand. While the WNBA operates independently, its association with the NBA means public disputes naturally draw wider scrutiny. From a leadership standpoint, Silver's recent comments can be interpreted as an attempt to restore focus and urgency. His message centers on structure, finalize negotiations, ensure operational stability, and keep the season on track. In high-stakes labor talks, perception matters, not just among players and owners, but with fans, sponsors, and broadcast partners. Public confidence can influence long-term revenue growth just as much as on-court performance. There is also the economic reality. If games are not played, revenue is not generated. Professional sports leagues operate within clearly defined financial systems, salary caps, media contracts, sponsorship deals, and those systems depend on continuity. By signaling urgency now, Silver appears to be encouraging resolution before deadlines create unavoidable disruption. Ultimately, the situation has narrowed to two paths: reach an agreement and capitalize on the league's recent surge in visibility, including the attention surrounding stars like Caitlin Clark, or risk interrupting that growth at a pivotal moment. Silver's remarks function less as theatrics and more as a final push for stability. In competitive sports markets, momentum is fragile. The underlying message is clear: resolve it now, protect the progress, and ensure the next era of the league begins without interruption.